Our next 3 lessons, we're going to work on writing equations of linear functions, and we are going to start with point-slope form. So, date over here. Let's get started. Okay, here's what point-slope form looks like. We got y minus y1 equals your slope and x minus x1. The reason why it's called point-slope form is because within this equation, you've got your slope, that's our m right there, and you've got a point on your line. So this x1, y1, that's a point, just a random point on the line, and those numbers show up in our equation over here. When we write our own equation in point-slope form, y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. Really, what we're working on doing is plugging in 3 numbers. We need to fill in the y1, the m, and the x1. Well, the m up above is already labeled. Our ordered pair, we've got our x1 and our y1. So when we go to write our equation, we're going to say y minus, and then my y1 is a 2, so I just put the 2 right there, equals. Next is our slope, which is 3, parentheses, and then x minus. Now, do you guys see how this x is a negative 3? So I'm subtracting a negative 3. Just like this happened in the slope formula, that's going to come out minus a negative or plus 3. And that is your point-slope form. For today, we're not going to do anything else with it. We're just going to write the equation and stop. So the good news is we don't have to do anything else with it. The other good news is we are going to continue to work with point-slope form. It's just how you start writing every single equation. So you're going to have this down. You're going to have it memorized without even trying after you guys do the homework. And it's not going to be too bad. All right, so let's write another equation. You've got your slope. Here's our x1 and our y1 up here. So just going to plug in our values. We've got y minus, and there's that negative again. y1 is a negative 1, so y minus a negative 1 becomes plus 1, equals, next is our slope, which is negative 4, parentheses, x minus, and then I look to see our x1 is a 2. And that one is done. One thing I want to point out here, do you see how, well, a couple things. First, the x is always with the x, and the y is always with the y. So if you're not sure where to put something, just know that the x goes with the x and the y goes with the y. The other thing, do you notice how this x1 is a negative 3, but down here it looks like a positive 3 in our answer? That's because we have subtraction built into our formula. So minus a negative 3 became positive. Our y1 is a positive 2 up here in the ordered pair, but down here it looks like a negative 2. So that's something to keep in mind. That's going to help us out in a couple slides. Your slope never changes. Again, over here, your x1 is a positive 2, looks like a negative 2 down here. Your y1 is a negative 1, looks like a positive 1 right there. All right, so this will be the most work on writing point-slope form is, you notice they gave us 2 points, so we've got the point. The thing we don't have is the slope. So you may have to find your slope first before you can write an equation. Basically, anytime you don't know the slope, find the slope because you're going to need that. So we follow our y2 minus y1, go ahead and write it in just so we know, over x2 minus x1. y2 minus y1 is 2 minus a negative 4 becomes plus 4, over 3 minus 1 gives us 6 over 2, which is 3. So we go to write our equation, what you do is you grab your slope, and then you've got 2 points to choose from. Let's just always go with the first point so we're consistent. So, and it's already labeled as x1, y1 anyway. So we're going to do y minus a negative 4 becomes plus 4 equals slope, parentheses, x minus x1, and we are done with this slide. All right, so this slide, we're given point-slope form. We just want to make sure we can identify the slope and the point. I'll tell you the slope's always the easiest thing to identify. The point is the one that people tend to mess up. So the slope is always in the same spot. it's that number between the equal sign right in front of the parentheses. So our slope is a -5. Now for the point, you have an x1 and you have a y1. And remember what we were saying before, the x1 up here in the equation looks like a +2, but when we write the ordered pair, it actually is negative in the point. Our y1 up here, so the y is with the y, looks like a -4, which means it's a +4 when we identify the point. So that's the only thing you have to look out for, switching those signs. All right, next example, slope is going to be the number in front of that parentheses, so 3/4. And then the point, we're looking for that ordered pair. The x1 is with the x, so we see this x minus 5, it's a -5 up here. We're going to make that a +5. And then your y1 is with the y, looks like a +9, we make it a -9. And so now we know the slope and a point on our line. Okay, last slide. If you have to graph this from point slope form, which to be honest, usually we'll graph from a different form, but if we have to do this, like in your homework, just go ahead and identify the information again. Our slope is the number in front of the parentheses, so -3. I'm going to go ahead and say -3/1. The point that we know on our line, the x1 is, we got a +3, so we're going to make it a -3. And the y1 is this -1, and we're going to make it a +1. So when we go to graph these, I'm going to make this graph a little bit bigger. You have to give yourself a starting point. So we are going to start by graphing this point, -3,1. So -3,1 on the graph, from the origin, right here in the middle, you're going to go to the left 3, 1, 2, 3, and up 1, and that's where our point is, -3,1. All right, so from there, we're going to do a slope of -3/1. So this is our rise over the run. So if your rise is -3, this is kind of a graphing review also, I don't think we've talked about it much yet. Your rise is -3, so from your point you go down 1, 2, 3, and you always run to the right. So we're going to go to the right 1 and put a point. So you're just going to keep following that pattern, down 3 to the right 1, down 3 to the right 1. So if you have to graph from point slope form, which again you do not have to do too often, but if you do, just plot your point, do your slope, and then you've got all these points. You can connect your line.